no idea what to do. It scared me to death.
They're in your hair. They're on your clothes. There was no escaping them.
It's like they knew we were in there, and they were torturing us.
We moved into their apartment. They didn't move into ours.
3 different families fighting 3 different infestations. Home is a sanctuary, but invaders don't respect boundaries. Our 4 walls provide all they need to survive, to thrive, and to multiply. And when they move in, home will never feel the same again. Aircraft engineer Andy Strube finds himself out of a job and needing to downsize.
The economy took a dump. I ended up, for the first time in my life being unemployed.
Andy is forced to sell his house and find a rental for his 2 children and fiancée, Amber.
As soon as I saw the place, I said, this is where I could spend, pretty much the rest of my life.
I was not sure if I wanted to live in the middle of the woods because I hate spiders, I don't like snakes. Nature and I don't necessarily get along. I woke up and I heard this sound on our bedroom windows. It sounded as if someone was throwing tiny pebbles against the window.
Six-year-old Caitlin has also been awakened by the mysterious noise. By morning, the noise has stopped.
My son was outside playing, and he brought in this bug. Of course, the bug flew out of his hands, and he didn't care to catch it. I had never smelled anything like it. It's hard to even describe the smell. It was just awful. I figured we live in the woods. We're gonna have bugs. They're everywhere, so I didn't really think that it was anything to worry about at that time.
It wouldn't be her last encounter with the strange-looking bug.
I started the hot water, and about 10 seconds later, I got this waft of this smell that I had smelled before. In the drain catch, I found one of these shield-looking bugs, and I didn't know what they were.
Over the next few weeks, the foul-smelling bugs start to show up everywhere. One evening, Andy's cousin Nate joins them for dinner.
There are reports of a new bug on the block, and it could be coming to a farm near you.
something caught our ear. They were talking about a new bug that was supposedly starting to invade people's homes.
Beginning to plague residents across the state, destroying apple crops and attacking corn and soybeans. Farmers are on the warpath.
They showed a picture of the insect, and it looked exactly like what we were dealing with in our house.
What is this bug? Well, they're calling it the stink bug. Experts fear that it's here to stay and it's only going to get worse.
The brown marmorated stink bug is not native to the United States. It's from Asia. It probably arrived on a container ship. It was first discovered in Allentown, Pennsylvania in the middle 1990s, and from there it's moved from border to border, coast to coast throughout the United States.
Right as my cousin is getting ready to go in his mouth with a fork full of spaghetti, a stink bug flies right in his mouth.
400 miles away in Charleston, West Virginia, Cynthia Bebo has moved back to her hometown after a difficult divorce.
When I first moved back here after my divorce, it was just me and my daughter. I wanted a home, so one of my best friends found the perfect white house that I just fell in love with.
Her new house is ideal for Cynthia and her young daughter, Caitlin. And the den in the basement is the perfect retreat from the world outside.
I'd lock the doors and me and her would pop popcorn and watch movies down there together.
Now that she's back in her hometown, Cynthia's parents live close enough to help care for her daughter.
When she moved back here, it was kind of a depressing time. I think being a single mom, Cynthia had a lot on her shoulders. Basically, I just lended any support I could.
Just weeks after moving in, Cynthia hears strange noises coming from outside.
I could hear like digging. It sounded like in dirt. And I hear something making a squalling noise, like squawking. So I figured it was a squirrel, a rabbit. I mean, I had no idea, but I just didn't care as long as it couldn't get in my house. I went downstairs to do a load of laundry and I had the basket in my hand. I heard scratching.
This time it's clear something is inside the basement.
It scared me to death because it was dark, I was alone. I had no idea what it was. I got the cell phone and I called my dad. I said, "Dad, there is something in my house."
As a father, I thought she was exaggerating. So I started down the steps. There's a little bit of a light down there, not very much of a light. And I could see shadow.
My husband and I kind of thought, well, maybe she has river rats, because even though she was like 4 streets from the river, that doesn't mean they don't travel through the sewers.
Cynthia's dad hasn't found a rat, It's an opossum. In Pennsylvania, the Strube's rented home is under attack from stink bugs.
It's like having thousands of flying cockroaches, except worse because they stink.
They're smashing against the windows and finding ways of getting into the house.
This stink bug has a very clever survival strategy. It has glands on either side of its body that produce potent chemicals that really stink. These are highly repellent and drive away would-be predators.
And the problem is getting worse.
We had to do something. We were seeing more every day. 20 turned into 30, 30 turned into 40, and 50 was turning into 100 quickly.
With Andy out of work, the family can't afford to hire an exterminator, so he takes on the challenge himself.
We tried to deal with it ourselves. You know, we bought the store-bought pesticides.
Andy and Amber hope pesticides will take care of the bugs and the terrible smell they leave behind.
When you spray them, they just sort of roll onto the ground on their backs. You think it's dead, but it's not actually.
Andy's chemical attack is failing.
Pesticides can provide only a short-term solution to the stink bug problem. Certain populations have evolved genetic mutations that allow them to be resistant to insecticides. So you'll spray the stink bugs, knock them down, and an hour or a day later, they'll get up and begin feeding on plants again. Our real hope lies in a tiny parasitic wasp that attacks the eggs of the stink bug. Many people are concerned that releasing a species from a different country can create even more problems. But before this parasite is released, it'll be thoroughly vetted.
The bugs are starting to take over.
She came screaming. I thought that something had happened to her. You know, she hurt herself or something.
Stink bugs became stuck in Caitlin's hair as she slept.
They don't come out of your hair very easily. You have to pull from the very top of the hairline all the way out to the bottom.
It basically smells like a skunk exploded in your hand. Makes your house stink. Makes your kids stink, makes your clothes stink.
I thought, how are they getting in? Why are they coming into my house? And how do you get rid of them?
Stink bugs spend the summer months feeding outdoors, but in the autumn, they seek refuge from winter weather. If your home is next to their summer feeding grounds, they're going to come inside.
Summer is nearly over. The Strubes are getting ready for their first day of school, and the stink bug explosion is going from bad to worse.
I was getting close to wit's end with it. Looking outside the doors, it was a sight that I had never seen before. I didn't even know how to really believe what I was seeing. It was possibly thousands of stink bugs swarming outside of every door.
Amber has no choice. She must take her children out into the swarm.
It was like raining stink bugs. They're in your hair. They're on your clothes. There was no escaping them. I told Andy that I didn't want to be there anymore. He needed to either solve the problem or we needed to leave.
Stink bugs are great reproducers. A single female can lay 400 eggs in a season. If you have 1,000 females in a woodland near your home, that can turn into 500,000 stink bugs in a single summer.
Life is becoming a living hell for Andy's family.
We didn't have the money to move. We were already, displaced to this location to begin with.
Despite the expense, the Strubes are forced to hire an exterminator.
He told us that he had never seen any stink bug infestation this size.
The exterminator pretty much soaked our house in pesticides.
Before the exterminator got to the bottom of our driveway, the stink bugs were flying back from the trees to get back onto the house.
In Houston, Texas, the Curley family is settling into a new neighborhood. It's the perfect place for Dad Ronnie and his wife Janie to raise their young family.
We had moved into the neighborhood because we liked the school district, and that apartment was very close to the schools, very convenient for the kids.
It was real cozy. It had kids playing, and it was next to the school, so it seemed to have everything that anybody could really ask for.
After a few weeks in the apartment, Janie's having a hard time keeping her kitchen clean. There are tiny brown marks inside the refrigerator. More peculiar things are showing up in the kitchen.
I noticed little black specks inside the water. So I asked Ronnie, I said, did you put any seasoning or anything in the water? He's like, no, I haven't touched it.
Ronnie is seeing things too.
Out of the corner of my eye, I seen like a little shadow. I didn't know what it was, so when I looked, I was like, what was it?
The next morning, Ronnie discovers what's been excreting specks of dirt in the family's kitchen. Cockroaches.
It was real disturbing. It made me sick. It was really disgusting to me. It wasn't like one or two. It was like 5, 6 of them.
We started taking everything out of the refrigerator. I was grossed out, and I was really concerned because it made me wonder, have I cooked and some of these gone into the food?
So it was like, okay, this is really nasty.
Ronnie calls the apartment manager and demands he send an exterminator. While the family is out, the exterminator arrives to spray the entire kitchen. He finds that their roach problem goes far beyond the fridge.
Cockroaches have been around on Earth for at least 320 million years. Unfortunately, our homes actually provide a perfect environment for many species to live. Cockroaches can be extremely agile, and in particular the American cockroach can run extremely quickly for its size. When it reaches its top speed, it actually rears up onto its hind limbs and just runs on the two back legs, keeping its front forelegs up in the air. If you scaled this up to a human size, that's the equivalent of a person running at well over 150 miles per hour. They have these pads on their feet, as well as little hooks that let them climb up of smooth surfaces like glass and walls, and the little hooks as well let them walk upside down on your ceiling. There's no part of your home that a cockroach can't get to.
The exterminator treats the entire kitchen with pesticide.
We got home that evening, and there was a note there that they had exterminated, and it said give it 6 to 8 weeks for the poison to take effect. It made me feel better because I think, okay, we're gonna solve the problem. Little by little, they'll start dying.
Cockroaches are capable of transmitting diseases between humans. So some of the gastrointestinal illnesses that roaches can spread between humans can be quite disgusting and painful. Bloody diarrhea, high fevers, headaches, flu-like symptoms, very uncomfortable. If the person in your home has one of these illnesses, a diarrheal illness, hepatitis A, and your bathroom becomes contaminated with these diseases, a cockroach crawling across your bathroom and into your kitchen can contaminate your kitchen surfaces and your food. So no matter how clean you are, where the cockroach has been is what matters.
For a week, the family sees no new signs of cockroaches.
It was a Saturday, and I started cooking. I pulled one out, and it was a roach. I told Ronnie, this is ridiculous. I mean, now we can't even cook.
Was like watching a hornet's nest get stirred up. It's like there was attack roaches.
In Lancaster, Pennsylvania, the Strube family's attempts to stop stink bugs are failing.
You can't sleep, you can't eat, you can't drink, you can't go outside. Literally, you couldn't do anything without a stink bug being your sidekick.
And without a job, Andy can't afford to move the family again.
I told Andy, look, you can make anything. You've worked on airplanes. Can't you find something, figure something out to deal with the stink bugs?
An aircraft mechanic by trade, Andy is used to solving problems.
I wasn't gonna settle for losing. I had to figure it out.
Andy gets scientific on the stink bugs. He learns more about them so he can figure out a plan of attack.
Stink bugs are not just a nuisance in people's homes. Since they've arrived, they've caused tens of millions of dollars of damage to crops. They now feed on corn, soybeans, and many kinds of fruits and vegetables.
Andy discovers his home is situated in the worst possible spot, between a soybean field and a corn crop.
My home is located right between the stink bug's two favorite meals. This is when we're realizing that we're in big trouble here.
Then one night, a stink bug and some duct tape give Andy the inspiration he needs.
When I seen those stink bugs stick into that duct tape, I saw the light. The light bulb went on in my head.
Time is running out.
had to figure something out and quick because the kids weren't dealing with it well. I wasn't dealing with it well. I would have almost rather spent the night with my parents like I was a teenager again than to live in that house with hundreds of stink bugs.
The sheer numbers of stink bugs in a home can be incredible. There's a reported case of more than 28,000 stink bugs being collected in a single home. The sheer smell of that is incredible. These guys are diabolically clever at getting indoors. They can flatten their body and squeeze through the tiniest cracks wherever they exist in your home. Once they get into your home, it's very difficult to get rid of an infestation. If you try to kill them or even vacuum them, they'll spray and make a tremendous stink in the home.
Andy hopes a sticky light trap will be the solution.
He just came up and hung this coffee can in the kitchen. I was like, what in the heck is that?
The next morning, it's clear. Andy's trap works.
In the first night, we caught several hundred stink bugs. And that was the moment right there that I knew that I had a solution for the stink bug.
After using the stink bug traps for about 2 weeks, I saw an immense difference in the amount of stink bugs we were seeing. I could actually sit down and have a cup of coffee without finding a stink bug in it 2 minutes later.
Life in the Strube household can finally return to normal. In a twist of fate, Andy has a new job. He's started his own business selling stink bug traps.
Before I created the traps, I really hated the stink bug. You know, it was the cause of all my life problems. Now, I don't know. I'm almost thankful of the stink bug.
A few hundred miles away in Charleston, West Virginia, Cynthia Bebo's dad has discovered what's in her basement. An opossum.
He stood right there, staring right dead at me, hissing. Sounded like a snake.
I knew nothing about possums. I didn't know if they carried any diseases. I didn't know if they would attack you. I had no idea what I was up against.
The opossum is America's only marsupial. When cornered, they can be hissing, spitting, biting, and emitting all kinds of noxious smells. Opossums have 50 large needle-like teeth that can really deliver quite a painful bite when they need to.
Cynthia calls her cousin Robbie, a hunter and trapper who lives nearby.
We went to the basement and looked with a flashlight. Sure enough, it was behind my washer. The possum was hissing at him, and it was kind of balling up in a ball, trying to get away from him. It actually climbed up the side of my wall behind my furnace. He figured out that's the way it had been coming in. He actually went outside and said, you know, you have to have a crawl space somewhere. Where's the crawl space? He crawled under there, and immediately he seen more than one set of eyes. He said they were hissing at him. It was like he was invading their territory.
Opossums are opportunistic invaders of our homes. Attics, crawl spaces, anywhere that they can gain entrance will give them shelter and food. And once we give them shelter, their next step is to look for a meal in our house.
Robbie boards up the hole in the basement to prevent the invaders from getting in. A week passes with no sign of an opossum in her basement. Cynthia hopes that without access to the inside of her home and her food, the animals have moved on.
While I was at work, they were having a field day in my house. I had to basically just throw everything I had away other than what was in my refrigerator. I would not allow Caitlin to touch or eat anything in my house.
Opossums are the vultures of the mammal world. They love to eat roadkill and other dead animals. And because they consume rotting flesh, they pick up bacteria like E. coli, Salmonella, and Staphylococcus, which they then bring into your house when they invade.
Not knowing whether any opossums are still in her house, Cynthia barricades herself and Caitlin in a bedroom upstairs.
I was thinking what I could do because I was not going to let these possums win. I was starting to get mad because enough was enough. I knew I had to take control of my house again. I tried to grab it with the broom, like trying to knock it off the counter.
Caitlin has been woken by the noise.
I was screaming at her, telling her to get back in the bedroom and shut the door. And it jumped and hissed at me, literally grabbed a hold of my broom and would not let go of my broomstick.
In Houston, Texas, Janie and Ronnie Curley have discovered an infestation of cockroaches in their kitchen.
We moved into their apartment. They didn't move into ours. We moved into their place.
An exterminator coated their kitchen with pesticide, but the roaches are back with a vengeance. Ronnie and Janie are so afraid the roaches will spread that they seal off the doorway to their kitchen.
I said, we can't eat, this is disgusting. I don't want to cook anymore. I called the manager right away, and they just told me, oh no, you just gotta give it some time. But you could tell there was something else going on.
The Curleys are desperate to know how the roaches are getting into their apartment. They wonder if other apartments in the building are infested too. Ronnie asks his neighbors.
We would ask questions if they was getting the roaches. A lot of them said they wasn't. This was mind-boggling because it's like they had found our apartment and we're like upstairs. Why didn't they just come up to ours? You know, what was so special about ours?
Even if you've just moved into a new home, particularly with apartments, sometimes you'll find that cockroaches are already there before you. If you're in an apartment building, cockroaches are very mobile, and they could be living anywhere else in the communal areas or in somebody else's apartment. In a large building particularly, if one apartment has cockroaches, it's very likely they're getting around into other apartments and can turn up in yours.
With the kitchen sealed off, the whole family must live on takeout food.
My 6-year-old is sitting in the living room watching TV, and he's eating a chicken sandwich. He sets it down beside him, and when he goes back to pick up his sandwich, it's got roaches. I was horrified. It was just like the last straw. I wanted to cry because there's nothing I can do.
The roaches are moving out of the kitchen and into the rest of the apartment, carrying the potential for disease with them.
The exoskeleton of a cockroach might appear smooth to your eye, but on a microscopic level, there's actually cracks and fissures that bacteria can get into and hitch a ride. They'll move from the sewer or the garbage can, and then they'll crawl across your nice clean kitchen surface and spread these bacteria around, which, if you're not careful, can be a problem for you.
I was worried the kids was gonna start getting sick. They was gonna start getting some kind of disease that we probably couldn't pinpoint until it was too late.
Ronnie gathers evidence of the infestation. He goes straight to the manager. He can't move his family out because he'll lose the $1,000 security deposit. He demands to be relocated to another apartment.
Now they're telling us that they had an apartment open, but they rented it out to somebody else. Now we have to wait again.
The manager promises to have the apartment treated the next day. The family retreats to the bedrooms, the only rooms that are roach-free.
There was nowhere to hide. We got roaches crawling on us. We can't sleep at night. We really need something to be done right now.
Once you have a cockroach infestation, they can actually be very persistent pests. Even if you manage to get rid of most of the conventional food sources, they can survive on things such as the glue off of the back of wallpaper or cardboard or even things like leather if they're desperate. They'll even go as far as managing to live off of some of the components of dust around your house, such as human skin cells and hair. So even if there's nothing else that you think they can eat, they can probably, a few of them, survive.
The exterminator is back to coat the entire apartment with pesticide.
He's walking around the apartment and he's asking us the same questions. Where do you see them the most? Where do they come out the most?
He has bad news. Roaches are nesting in the walls and using air vents as their gateway.
I'm like, my God, if they're coming out by the thousands, how many are still in the walls that I haven't seen?
In Houston, Texas, the Curley family has learned that cockroaches are infesting the walls of their apartment.
It's fearful, it's scary, and it's disgusting all at the same time.
The family must leave while exterminators do a thorough treatment of the apartment. When they return, they're shocked by what they find.
We are literally horrified. I say there was like 1,000 roaches all over, literally covering the floors and the counters, kitchen counters and bathtub and everything. We start sweeping them and putting them in the dustpan, section by section.
With so many dead cockroaches, Ronnie and Janie believe their problem is over.
I was thinking that we finally got rid of them. It's our apartment back. And for once, I was able to go to sleep feeling comfortable.
A week later, the family's life is back to normal. Roaches have been nesting deep within the couch itself.
They were walking over each other, coming out from underneath the cushions. They was coming from the cracks in the armrest. It was unreal. I was losing everything. I didn't have my home anymore.
I don't care about a broken lease. I don't care. We just need to go.
If you have cockroaches in your home in the first place, it means you've provided a suitable environment for them to live. Most of us do. That means that they'll just come back after you've eradicated them the first time. So what you really need to do is change your habits in your home that make your home an attractive place for them to live.
The infestation is now so bad that Janie must feed her kids outside. Ronnie has had enough. He tries the management one last time.
The apartment people told us that they was afraid of us moving into another apartment because they was afraid that we was going to bring the roaches with us.
In despair, he finally finds an apartment for his family, but it's in a different neighborhood. The kids will have to move schools.
The kids are mad. They're asking why can't they, the roaches just die? So they're frustrated and they're upset as well.
They lose their deposit and move out. But Ronnie leaves nothing to chance.
We mostly threw everything away. We didn't want the roaches to follow us.
They leave with nothing.
It didn't even seem like my apartment anymore. At that point, it was like we finally gave them back their apartment. The victory was just to get out of it.
It was my worst nightmare. It was really bad. I've never been through anything like this, and I hope to never have to go through anything like this again.
Just when she thought she was safe from opossums, Cynthia Bebo has chased one out of her house with a broom. The opossums in her crawl space have made it into the kitchen.
I had decided something had to be done. I wanted my daughter to feel safe in her home. I wanted to feel safe in my house. I wanted my basement back to where we could have popcorn night.
If opossums get into your living space, they bring with them dog and cat fleas, ticks, other parasites, and a really foul-smelling fecal matter. Opossums are generally lazy animals, and if they don't have to dig their own burrow, they won't. Because our crawl spaces are easily accessible, we provide them with a prefabricated home that they can invade, build their nests, and have babies. Female opossums can have up to 13 babies at one time, and so if you've got a nest with multiple females in it, the numbers can quickly spiral out of control.
Cynthia's cousin Robbie has come to eject the opossums for good. It's illegal to kill them, so he plans to use cages to trap the creatures that are living and multiplying under Cynthia's house. For Cynthia and Caitlin, it's now a waiting game. But they don't need to wait for long. One night, she hears scratching coming from right outside her bedroom door.
I knew then that they were trying to get into my bedroom.
The opossums have found another way to get inside her home. and they've made it all the way to her bedroom.
It's like they knew we were in there, and they were like torturing us.
After feeding in the house at night, the opossums retreat back into the crawl space. In the morning, Cynthia's father and cousin arrive to check the trap.
Well, it's kind of a hesitating moment when you first see it because it's going around and around in the cage, hissing, biting on the cage, trying to get out.
They catch one young opossum, which means bigger ones are nearby.
I was still scared because I had no idea really how many there were.
She sets traps all over the house. Each night, she barricades herself and her daughter inside the bedroom. Every morning, the traps are full.
Every time that I would try to grab hold of the hook on the cage, they would literally try to come out of that cage and attack me.
One by one, Cynthia captures each invader. Robbie and Clarence take them away.
There was such joy knowing that I think I found a solution, you know, that I can get these things out of my house.
Finally, she awakens to empty traps. The crawl space is vacant too. Cynthia has beaten the opossums.
When we finally realized that we had our house back, we actually loved it. We threw a little get-together with her friends. We had popcorn night.
But the experience has taken its toll on Cynthia.
I was scared a long time after I had realized that I had gotten them out of the house. And to this day, I still sleep with my bedroom door shut.